WFSU Summer Challenge kickoff. Good afternoon. We've got some awesome ocean expert presenters here today, and the next one starts right now. We've got Dr. Jennifer McGee here, and Dr. McGee is the statewide coordinator for the Florida Beaches Habitat Conservation Plan and the Marine Debris Lead. She is with Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, and she is here to give a talk all about sea turtles and marine debris. So if you could just give her a round of applause, and here she is.
Hi, everybody. As Megan said, I'm going to talk to you guys today a little bit about sea turtles and marine debris and some of the problems that the debris causes. So to start out, how many of you guys have heard of marine debris? Raise your hand. Okay, so it's a good number of you guys that have heard about it. So what do you think marine debris is? You guys can just shout it out. What are some things that you think is marine debris? They're trash. Yep. Trash bags. Plastic, yep, definitely plastics. Okay, look at this one. This might give you an idea of some other examples. What do you guys see in this photo? See bottles, there's some six-pack rings, some cups, some garbage wrappers, some wrappers from food. So marine debris is anything that's man-made that ends up out in the ocean or up on the beaches. Sometimes people put it out there intentionally. Sometimes they don't know and they throw it over their boat, or they throw it out their car window and it blows into the water. Sometimes it just blows out of the garbage can if the garbage can lid isn't closed properly. So sometimes it's intentional, sometimes not. But when that debris ends up out in the water, it can look like food to sea turtles. Sea turtles don't have the best vision when they're at the surface of the water, or especially when they have their heads out of the water. It's just like if you put your head under the water and open your eyes without any goggles on, it's a little blurry, right? It's kind of hard to see. That's kind of like what it is for sea turtles. So when sea turtles are foraging and looking for food out in the ocean, and they come across some of these things like balloons, like when people do balloon releases, which are not a good thing, or if plastic bags blow out into the water. What do you think those plastic bags and balloons look like to a turtle? Jellyfish, exactly. So sea turtles think that these plastic bags, and especially balloons, when they burst, look just like jellyfish. And they end up eating this plastic. And this does not sit well in their stomachs. So a lot of times we find them stranded up on the beach, and when we take them into rehab to make them healthier for release, we do find that there's plastics, little bits of plastics and balloons and stuff in their stomachs. So it's one of the big things we don't want to do, is release balloons or let plastic bags fly away. There's a lot of alternatives to plastic bags we'll talk about too. So when the debris goes out into the water and it's floating out in the open ocean, it mixes often with this stuff called sargassum. Sargassum is this floating seaweed. It's an algae. It's a macroalgae that's floating out in the ocean. There's like a big mat of it out in the ocean. It's like a carpet. And sea turtles like to forage around here, but so do a lot of other animals. This sargassum and this seaweed acts like a nursery because it offers a lot of protection for those little bitty animals, so for like baby fish, even baby sea turtles, so that they can camouflage and hide in that sargassum so the big sharks and the bigger fish don't come and eat them. So the baby sea turtles like to hang out in this. You can see here in this photo, that sea turtle's kind of hard to find, right? He blends in pretty well with that sargassum. So he likes to hide out there, and he'll stay there for a couple years while he's, feeding and getting nice and big. But something that happens when they're out there too is that some of that marine debris that ends up in the ocean gets tangled up with this sargassum. So especially like you think of balloons or the plastic bags, when those go out, especially that balloon ribbon, that gets really tangled up in that sargassum. It's really hard to get out. But these sea turtles think that these little bits of plastic and little bits of balloon are food, and they take little bites out of them. So a lot of times when we're finding this plastic, either on the beach or picking it up out of the ocean, we can actually see the turtle bites out of it, and fish bites. So when there's strong currents or just the natural tides or storms, you guys may have seen this stuff wash up on the beach. How many of you guys have seen something like this on the beach? Yeah, do you guys know what it is? What do you guys think this is? Yeah? Yep, it's kind of like plants. It's a mixture of seagrasses and seaweeds, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that comes up. So this is the stuff that's floating out in the ocean. When it's out in the ocean, it has more of a yellowish color. When it comes up on land, it starts to look a little bit more brownish and more red. But it still has all those things in it. So sometimes those little baby fish and little baby animals come back with it, including the sea turtles. But it also brings in all that garbage. So this stuff ends up on the beach. But this is also good habitat. This is good stuff for the beach. The beach needs this beach rack. It just doesn't need all that man-made marine debris in it. So this is good stuff to have on the beach once we get the plastics and stuff out of it. So this is an example of a couple things that you'll find in this beach rack. So next time you guys go to the beach, it's kind of like a scavenger hunt. There's tons of things that you can find in there. There's all sorts of seaweed, different kinds of seagrasses. You can find sea beans if you're really lucky. There's sponges. You'll find little jellyfish. The jellyfish you don't want to touch, but you'll also find some different shells and everything that you can explore. And there's a lot of things that use this. It's called beach rack when it's up on the beach. And the shorebirds will go and they'll feed on it and they'll lay their eggs near it. But sometimes we also find sea turtles that wash back with it. And then we can also find these little bits of plastic because this stuff gets tangled up with this seaweed and this algae when it comes back in. So we really want to go pick that up before it gets washed back out to the ocean. So this is a picture here where you can see some of this beach rack. And from there, it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look dirty. There doesn't look to be like a lot of garbage in it, right? You see a couple pieces? What do you see in there? Yeah, yep, like white foam. Yep, exactly. There's a whole bunch of things in there. So in that little pile right there, that's what I picked out of that pile. So you saw a couple of those, but I don't think you probably saw all of those because that's how hidden this stuff is. It's really hard to find. Yep. But it is hard to find. And one of the things that you'll find out there, or a couple things you'll find straws a lot of times. You'll find plastic cups and plastic bottles, a lot of plastic pieces, lots of bottle caps, sometimes the plastic bags, all sorts of different things. So what we have here today, because when you go out on the rack, there's some things that you can look for in there. There's the things that I told you about before, the different types of seaweed, the different types of algae, and stuff like that, which is really fun to find. There's shells in there that you guys can look for with your parents. But then there's other stuff like potentially sea turtles in there. And if there's sea turtles in there, you want to call us at FWC so that we can go out and help the sea turtle. But there's a lot of fun things that you can find in there, and it's really good to have that beach rack on there. So we want that to stay out on the beach. So here, I actually made a little beach. So what we're going to do, I'm going to have all you guys that want to participate in this come up and sit on the rug here. And we're going to do a little bit of a scavenger hunt. So if you guys want to look through. Okay, so in this little kiddie pool, there's sand, and then you see there's all the beach rack is all the vegetation and everything. So this is the kind of stuff that's the beach rack, okay? So in this pool, you'll find that there's a whole bunch of marine debris, but there's also some other hidden critters in there. There's some sea turtles, there's some sea stars, and there's some crabs, okay? So what I want you guys to do is run up here, try and dig through it and see what you can find of all different kinds that's not the rack. And then go sit back on the rug and we'll see what you guys find.
What's that blue thing?
I don't know, you can grab it. Yep, grab anything in there that's not the plants. And there's a little net on the back if you need to sift through the sand. And if you can't get something untangled, that's okay. You can grab it like that too.
I found a sea turtle.
Okay, grab it.
It's a toy one.
Yeah.
Mom, I found a toy sea turtle.
Okay, we got 30 more seconds. Grab as much stuff as you can that's not the rack line, and then go back and sit on the carpet.
No. Put the sand out. Here, take this up. Take this in your hand.
Yeah, that's good. Hold on to that.
Little one. It's a broken spoon.
Yeah, yep, hold on to that.
Paulo, put your hand.
What's that thing?
Get the thing, yeah.
That's the pool. Yep, hold on to that.
Chill.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, grab your stuff and go sit back on the carpet and we'll look at what you guys found.
Come on, Paulo. Come on.
Good job.
Come on, sit down.
Okay,
Sit down.
okay, so let's see what you guys found. Okay, so what did you find? Let's see. So she found, what's your name?
He said, my name is Paulo. Say, what's your name?
Paula. Okay, so Paula found a little piece of plastic that was probably part of a little plastic toy that might have been left on the beach or that washed out into the water. And then also a part of a balloon. And this one has the string attached too. The string really gets tangled in that rack line. But the balloon, if you look close, also already has some bite marks out of it from either some fish or sea turtles.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Wait, was this like some of the stuff that you actually found?
That was, yep. This is actually some of the stuff that's in here is debris that I actually picked up off the beach. So let's see, here we have what looks like a candy wrapper that came out. And then another piece of foam, which could have been part of a pool toy or beach toy or something like that. So you guys always want to make sure when you guys take your beach toys out that you bring them back with you.
So is that bite marks too?
This one is, yes.
With the hole is that?
This hole right here, that's probably a triggerfish.
A triggerfish? And what is this bite mark? Is this just like a tear? Or a
These,
bite?
nope, these on the edges might be sea turtle. It's a little hard to tell on this one, but those could be sea turtle bite marks. Okay, let's see what you got. Okay, so he found a sea turtle. So we have the sea turtle hiding in there, and you can see the sea turtle looks a lot like the rack. So these guys are really well camouflaged in there. And the sea turtle hatchlings you'll usually find in the rack line in the fall or the autumn when the big storms start coming up. So after a hurricane, a lot of these little guys get blown right back into shore because they're not really strong swimmers. So a lot of times they get brought back in. Let's see, we also have a bottle cap, another very common find on the beaches. We have the handle to plastic utensils. We have a seashell. And we have what looks like it was part of a hair clip at some point. Okay, and what'd you find? You found a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so see here, let me see that piece. So one of the challenges, and this is a perfect example of it. So when we have the balloon string that goes out into the water and the monofilament, which is the fishing line that gets either thrown overboard or drifts overboard, that really gets tangled in this monofilament. So when we have this in here, or in the sargassum, so when sea turtles are trying to swim through it, it's really easy for them to get tangled up in this, which is not good. Put that there. We have little bits of plastic. Could have been some sort of tape. Let's see what else we have. Yep, there's some sargassum. We have a Mylar balloon. This one I found just last week. You guys see what it says on it?
Mother's Day.
Yep. About a week after Mother's Day, we were finding balloons all over the sea turtle nesting beaches. So this one,
Lanterns, you know the balloons that have the little.
yep. The lanterns, they have metal and paper is usually what they're made out of. But in Florida, because especially like right now we have such drought conditions, those can cause wildfires. So it's a better alternative to balloons, but still not great.
So if that goes into the water, then does it just like disintegrate and doesn't hurt them?
Well, it can still pose an entanglement risk because it has that metal attached to it. So when the turtles swim into the metal, they're agile swimmers, but in terms of trying to maneuver in and out of stuff, not as much. So if they get wedged in there, they get stuck in it. Yep. But these guys, these Mylar balloons, these are the shiny ones and everything. These, when they get released, if they don't end up in the water, they can also end up in power lines. And because they're metallic, if they end up in the power lines, it can actually start sparking, it can cause power outages, and it can even cause fires. Oh, perfect. So the latex balloons, the rubber balloons, are also the ones that the turtles take bites of. So, and what's your name? Sophia. Okay, so Sophia, I mean, she has 2 hands, lots of fingers she can use to get all this debris untangled. But this is all the debris that she had to untangle from that garbage. That's a lot of stuff. Now let's see, what else did she find? Okay, we have a little crab. This is something you'd naturally find in the rack. We have a Slim Jim wrapper. Somebody was snacking on the beach. And then we have these. This is the sea turtle that's actually in this little mesh bag.
I couldn't get it out.
Yeah, and see, even Sophia couldn't get it out, even using her hands. So this is the tricky one. So this mesh bag is actually used and sold at a lot of stores, and it has the plastic toys in it, plastic beach toys specifically. So you usually see this. So a lot of people take this to the beach. But because it's clear, it's really hard to see. So even if people want to pick up after themselves, a lot of time these get left behind on the beach. But they're also very dangerous to a lot of animals because they swim in, not seeing it, and they get stuck. So these are ones that you want to try to avoid. Let's see. We got some, let's see, we'll grab these. We got straws. So there's some alternatives that we can use to straws, and I'll go over those in a minute, but there's a lot of options that you can use, like for metal straws. I carry my own metal straw around with me all the time, or your own water bottle. This is the plastic piece of a lollipop. We have another little crab. We have some more balloon string. We have, this was part of a plastic bag. And if you look, this one's still, it's kind of breaking apart.
The other part of it.
Yep, and the other part's down there. So one of the things with the plastic is that while it might break up into smaller pieces, it just breaks up into the smaller pieces. It never actually goes away. And then we had another candy wrapper here. And then we have this, which is another part of a plastic cup. So we do find plastic cups on the beach a lot. And that's usually from a lot of the restaurants that people are serving plastic cups and straws and everything, and people take this out onto the beach and forget to bring it back with them. So that was pretty good. I mean, we got a lot of garbage out of there. So you guys did an awesome job. So some of the things that you guys can do when you guys are out on the beach, or just to prevent marine debris from happening in the first place, one of the big things is while balloons could be a lot of fun to play with, you never want to release them. So you don't want them, even if you're not near the water, you don't want to release them because those balloons can travel really far distances. We found some on the beaches up in St. Mark's that came from Alabama. So they came a far way, and we knew that because unfortunately it was actually a school that released them, and they attached tags to the balloons saying that it came from this particular school. So we were able to contact them and help them out with some more educational materials to show them that, you know, balloon releases are not a good thing. And there's a lot of cities and states that are actually starting to ban it completely because they know that there's a lot of dangers. Right now there's a couple cities in the southeast, in the southeast Florida that have banned it. We have, I think in Miami-Dade County, Delray, Lantana, that area. In Florida, we have restrictions on it, so you can't do a mass balloon release. It's illegal to do that. So that's why we don't have, like, our football teams don't do mass balloon releases. But there's other schools, like some up north in the Carolinas, that still do that for the football games. And there's a lot of pressure for them to not do that anymore. Yep. I'll show you guys that in a minute. So one of the other things you guys can do is use reusable bags instead of the plastic bags. So you see those green bags at Publix all the time. They usually have really cool designs on them. Or even paper bags. They don't always have them sitting out front, but there's always paper bags available. And to me, I kind of like that. It's kind of a little old school, you know, to use the paper bags. So just using less plastic in general. So try not to use as many of the reusable, the single-use plastic bottles, those water bottles. If you have a water bottle that you can keep refilling, that would be great. So this is an example of one that I use a lot. So this is my water bottle. And you can see it, I like having a straw, but I don't like using the plastic straws because you just use them and then throw them out. So I always have a metal straw with me. Yep.
We can use the plastic ones that come in those type of cups, correct?
Yes. Yeah, because the plastic ones that come in these cups are usually a sturdier one, so they're designed to be washed and reused.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
What would happen if something metal went out into the ocean, like something that was sort of like that?
Okay, so Sophia was asking what would happen if the metal went out into the ocean. So it's not good for any of the stuff that goes out into the ocean, but the metal is probably less dangerous. It might start to rust and start to break apart, but it's not something that sea turtles or other fish are going to take bites of to start eating. So it will start to break down after a while. Oh yeah, great. So we have, and I just mentioned no straws. You always want to pick up your trash, so anytime you guys go to the beach, you want to make sure that anything you bring to the beach, you bring back with you. And picking up other people's stuff too, because sometimes people, like those mesh bags, you don't see that right away. So somebody might accidentally leave that. So if you see that they left that there, you want to bring that back. Oh yeah? Did you find a sea turtle?
Yeah, sea turtle.
Let's see. I was putting it back in the beach.
And she got like a locket.
Perfect. Okay, she rescued a sea turtle. Great.
Wait, she has something plastic too.
Yeah, she has a plastic like top that
Awesome.
the,
Yep. And that little plastic piece is the plastic top to that mesh bag. Yep. So there's a lot of people that do beach cleanups. Once a year, there's an international coastal cleanup, and it's one of the biggest beach cleanups in the world. That's in September. But there's beach cleanups going on all the time, and you guys can always organize it with your friends, with your Boy Scout troops, with the Girl Scout troops. There's a lot of opportunities to do that, and we can always help out with that as well. Don't litter. You don't want to throw anything out the car window or anything. You want to wait until you can get to a trash can and either throw it out properly in a garbage can or recycle it. And then if you do see something, like if you see sea turtles, or if you know of somebody who's going to do a mass balloon release or something like that, you can always call us, and then we can help out. So that's the big thing there. So I do have a little activity, something that you guys can do next time you guys go to the beach. When you guys are doing this kind of scavenger hunt through the rack line and seeing what kind of cool stuff you have, you can make trash turtles. So you can take all that debris that you find and find some creative way to put it on the turtle. So it'll also be a little reminder that, this is all the stuff that you prevented a sea turtle from eating, which is pretty cool. So I have a couple of those up front. I also have some other marine debris related stuff at the table if you guys want to come up and look at that. I have some pictures up here. There's also a big art contest that comes up once a year. NOAA's Marine Debris Program has an art contest for anybody kindergarten through 8th grade where you can draw photos, and if your photo gets selected, it gets put into the calendar, and you can see this year's calendar. So that'll be in the fall when they start looking for that. And then you can see some of the other pieces of marine debris that I found, some of the balloons, the nets, that kind of stuff. So before we do that, you guys have any questions?
Yes, I have a question. So what do you recommend for us to take the toys and stuff in for the kids, since you're saying the mesh bags and the lids are harmful to the sea creatures? So what is your alternative option? Or are you saying use the recyclable bags as the alternative option? Or a crate or something like
Yeah, so she is asking what are kind of the alternatives for if you're going to carry out toys and stuff to the beach, like for your kids to play with. Sometimes it's those big shoulder like canvas bags, because those are really easy to dump the sand out of. You can just stick them in the washer when you're done if you want to. The reusable bags from Publix and that kind of stuff are great because it's the same kind of thing. They can get wet, they can get dirty, they're washable. The sand can filter out of them pretty fast. But I would suggest using some sort of bags like that, some sort of reusable bag like that. Because the plastic bags they sell up, but the mesh bags are really unfortunate ones, because those are very dangerous in terms of an entanglement. And when the animals get entangled in those, sometimes they get entangled underwater and then they can't come up to breathe. So we definitely don't want those out there, and it's a danger for us too, because I scuba dive a lot, and I know there's other people here that probably go scuba diving. So some of that stuff, like that bag or that fishing line, it's hard to see underwater. So you may not see it. So people can be diving or even just swimming underwater and get tangled in this too. So you definitely don't want that.
So you don't recommend a crate, taking like a regular crate that's open and put like the toys in?
A crate? Yeah, you can take a crate as well. With some of the stuff, if you have things that might blow out, I would suggest if you had like a zipper on the top or something like that, or could tie it closed. But if it's just like, the plastic toys in the crate, that's fine too. Anything that's reusable that, basically for the marine debris, you just want to stay away from all the single-use products. That's what we find for the most part. Sometimes it's discarded fishing gear, but it's a lot of single-use, usually plastic and styrofoam products. So the more you can reuse, the better.
Taking to the beach that would be used as a single use. So I think a lot of people take stuff to the beach that you can just use and throw away right then.
Right.
And so what is your alternative to, like, I guess, food at the beach?
Yeah, and it's fine if you do bring even some of that single-use stuff to the beach. The big thing is bring it back with you. Make sure you put it in the garbage can instead of, it's really easy on the beach for stuff to get buried. So even if you set the stuff next to you, like a candy wrapper or something, and then somebody comes, it either could fly away or somebody comes along and it gets buried and then you forget about it, and or if a storm moves in and everyone's running off the beach, I see tons of garbage when that happens because I'm usually out on the beach trying to photograph the storm. But everyone else has run off the beach and left all their stuff out there. But some of the stuff, there's the plastic containers or the glass containers that are reusable containers. You can put like the sandwiches in there instead of the Ziploc bags. Some stuff, it's hard because a lot of the food that we bring is usually wrapped in some sort of plastic or something like that. But that's where even bringing stuff like fruit, like frozen fruit, and then putting it in a reusable container and just kind of bringing, stuff from home and putting it in those reusable containers and bringing it out would be a better option. Yep, go check that out. You guys have any other questions?
No.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Well, if you guys want to check out the table and grab any of the activity sheets you guys want to take.
Paula, don't move too much with it. Keep the sand inside the swimming pool.
Right.
Don't do what you do in your hair. That's not nice. You don't want to do your hair.
These are some of the other plants.
All right, let's give Dr. McGee a big round of applause. Thank you.